So hello guys, my name is Vipul and today we do The Dust of Snow, which is a poem in our class 10th English. So The Dust of Snow is written by the Robert Frost. He was a very great poet, and he wrote about basically mostly he wrote about the nature and about the things of the nature, like the dust of snow, the road not taken, and much more poems. And he is known as the poet of nature. This is the, we can say, intro of the poet of this poem, and the intro of the poet of this poem. I also, in our previous video of the English, I think I will give the link of that video. And so let's begin. You can check the description box to get this PDF of the question answers. Today we do the question answer of the dust of snow. So the PDF link of the PDF is in the description box, and also the link of that the poem, the previous poem, the video of the previous poem is also in the description box. So you can you check out the description box and get the link. So now, firstly, we talk about the theme of the poem. What is the theme of the poem? So the theme of the dust of the theme of the poem, the dust of the snow, which is show that even trivial changes in our life make big changes in our life. It means that the trivial changes means the small changes, the small changes, the small things can make a big change in our life, can make a big change in our mood, and in everything our life. So the basically the theme of the poem is the small things, like the dust of snow in this poem. Like the dust of snow is from the hemlock tree, is dropped on the poet, and the mood of the poet is changed and his day is saved. So just like that, the poet want to say that the small things can make the biggest changes in your life. The small or we can say the smallest thing can change our situation for the better. The smallest, we think that the thing is which cannot, we think that anything cannot, that small thing cannot change in our change in our situation, but the but that small thing is make big change in our situation for the better. Small thing we do for others, or knowingly or unknowingly, make all the difference. It means that the small things we do for others knowingly means knowingly or unknowingly make all the difference. So in the poem, it is Crow's act of kindness done out of fear change the mood of the poet. This is the act in this poem. The crow shaked off the snow, dust of snow from the hemlock tree on the poet's head. That that act of the crow is the act of kindness done out of fear change the mood of the poet. Before this, the poet mood is depressed, but after this, the poet mood is changed to better, and his day is saved, and he can do other things at that time. So the poet receives this powdery snow as gift from nature. That powdery snow, that dust of snow, the poet receives is as the dust, as a gift of the nature. He feels happy and grateful that someone has saved the part of his day from being wasted. So this is our theme of the poem. The theme of the poem is that the small things can make a bigger change in your situation for the better. So our first question is occur is, what is dust of snow? So the dust of snow refers to the small particle of the snow. These small particles look like white dust or cotton. The falling of this dust of snow on the poet's head had changed his mood. The poet had been in a depressed mood in the earlier part of the day. After the falling of the dust particle, his mood changed for the better, and his rest of the day is saved for him. So it means that the dust of snow refers to the small particle of the snow, and these small particles look like white dust or cotton. This is basically a dust of snow, and the falling of this dust of snow on the poet in his mood. The poet had been in a depressed mood before this, but after the mood of the poet is changed for the better, and his mood changed for the better, his rest of the day is saved for him. So now our next question, the second question: how does Frost present nature in this poem? So Frost is known as the poet of nature, which I have told you at the beginning of this video. So in this poem, he presents a positive view of nature. The poet was in a depressed mood, the way unpleasant for him. But when a crow shook down dust of snow on him, his mood suddenly changed for the better. So the frost. So in the question is, how does Frost present nature in this poem? And the answer is this: that the Frost is known as the poet of the nature. In this poem, he present a positive view of nature. The Frost was the poet, which is Robert Frost, was in the depressed mood. The way unpleasant for him. That way is unpleasant for him. But when a crow shook down the dust of snow on him, his mood suddenly changed for the better. Now let's begin with our third question. So, what are the birds that are usually named in the poems? Do you think crow is often mentioned in poem? What image come to your mind when you think of a crow? So the question is, we have to name that birds which are usually named in the poem, and we have to write what thoughts are coming in our mind when we think about a crow. So let's begin with our answer. The answer number 3: the birds that are usually named in poems are nightingale, cuckoo, skylark, etc. Yeah. So these are some birds which are usually mentioned in the poems. So a crow is rarely mentioned in a poem, as it is often considered a bird of ill omen, and his voice is also harsh and unpleasant, so it is rarely associated with good things. The sight of the crow does not move or impress. Yeah. So these are the birds which are usually mentioned in the poems: the nightingale and cuckoo, skylark, and etc. These are the main birds which are usually mentioned in any poem. But the crow is rarely mentioned in any poem. And because he is considered as bird of Illinois. And his voice is also harsh and unpleasant. So it is rarely associated or rarely as mentioned as a sign of good thing. So the sight means the personality, the anything of the crow. The personality of the crow is does not move or inspire anyone. What is hemlock tree? Why? Our fourth question is, what is hemlock tree? Why doesn't the poet write about more beautiful trees such as maple or an oak or a pine? So our question is this: what is hemlock tree? So a hemlock tree is a poisonous tree with white flowers. It is associated with melancholy, sorrow. And in this poem, the poet does not name a beautiful tree because his purpose is to describe a sorrowful mood. So, hemlock tree is a poisonous tree with white flower. This is the hemlock tree. This is the personality of how the hemlock trees look like and what type of tree is this. This is a type of poisonous tree, and hemlock tree is basically associated with the melancholy sorrow. And our next in the same question, our next our next line in this same question, that is, why doesn't poet write about more beautiful trees? And the answer is this: in this poem the poet does not name a beautiful tree because his purpose to describe a sorrowful mood, describe his sorrowful mood. The poet is in a melancholy mood, and it is aptly symbolized by the hemlock tree. So this is our answer, that uh, the poet is in the melancholy mood. So he because he want to show his sorrowful mood, melancholy sorrow mood, is he mentioned sorry he mentioned that the he mentioned the tree of hemlock, which is which is also a sign of ill omen. So now our question number 5th: what do crow and hemlock represent? Joy or sorrow? What does the dust of snow that crow shaked off a hemlock tree stand of? So our answer is, the crow and hemlock represent sorrow. Hemlock is a poisonous plant, so it is associated with the melancholy or sorrow, and it being about depression. In this poem, it being about depression. And the crow is also a bird of ill omen. It does not inspire or move us. So rather, rather it repels us, the dust of snow. That the crow shocked of a hemlock tree is a sorry is a sign of nature blessing. The poet had been in a depressed mood. He regretted the unpleasant day, but when the dust of snow fell on his head, he was suddenly transformed. All his sorrow and depression depression was gone, and he became happy. So in this answer, the answer is this, that the question is this: what tree the crow and hemlock tree represent? Joy or sorrow? What does the dust of snow is? And what does the dust of snow represent in this poem, which is shaken off by the hemlock tree? So the crow and hemlock represent sorrow, And hemlock tree is a poisonous tree, so it is always or mostly represented with the melancholy and sorrow, and it being about depression. In this poem, it being about depression. And and the crow is also being about and the crow is also a bird of ill omen, so it does not and it does not inspire or move us, so rather it repel us. But the dust of snow is that the dust of snow that the crow shaked off from the tree, the hemlock tree, is a sign of nature's blessing. The poet had been in a depressed mood. He regretted so uh, sorry he regretted he regretted the unpleasant day. But when the dust of snow fell on his head, he was suddenly transformed, and all his sorrow and depression was gone, and he became happy. What does the poet wish to convey through this poem? So, the poem Dust of Snow by Robert Frost is a poem about the change of mood. The poem wishes to convey that we should never lose hope, joy, and sorrow. We lose, sorry, the poet wishes to convey that we should never lose hopes. Joy and sorrows, smile and tears go hand in hand in our life. So, if winters come, can spring be far behind? If sorrows is there, we must not feel depressed. Something will happen which will turn our state of mind, and our melancholy sorrow will be surely replaced by joy and happiness. Sometime in an ordinary event can bring about a major shift in our mood. This is the message which the poet wishes the poet want to convey through this poem. The message is the same message that we never have been we never have to depressed in any situation, because if there are sorrows, if there are tears, there is smile also. There is joy, there is sorrow, so there is joy also. These all go hand in hand. These go side by side. All go side by side in our life. So the poet give an example also that if the winter hour comes, but you don't forget that the spring is not far behind. So if sorrows are there, not feel depressed. Not feel depressed. Don't forget that something will happen which surely change your sorrow, melancholy to the joy and happiness. Why this page is sorry? It takes some time. So it is loaded. So RTC means reference to context. So the first one is the way of hemlock. From the way of to hemlock tree. The first paragraph. So name the first one is in this paragraph question. The first one rises. Name the poem and the poet. The name of the poem is Dust of Snow by Robert Frost. What was done by Crow? Crow fell dust of snow from the hemlock tree on the poet. What kind of tree is hemlock tree? Hemlock tree is a poisonous tree with small white flowers. Explain dust of snow. The small particle of snow called the small particle of snow are called as dust of snow. And it is a symbolic of gift of nature in this poem. And the next reference to contact is from given to had wrote it. So what type of mood was poet in? The poet was in a depressed mood. So we all know that the poet is in a depressed mood. What does the poet say about the change in his mood? The poet say that the dust of snow from the hemlock tree change his mood. And what lesson do you learn from this poem? The lesson we learn from this poem is small things can change. You can state a great change in our mind. So this is done for the today, guys, and this is our question answer of the poem Dust of Snow, and this is done. So, and don't forget to leave a like on this video, and please subscribe to our channel, and also click on bell icon for taking my all the updates. And yeah, the link of this PDF and the previous poem, the video of the previous poem is also in the description, so don't forget to check the description box and watch that video, and you can download this PDF from that link. So thank you and have a nice day. Bye bye.